Listen, I'm so stoked to have my next guest, Stanton, Stiga, Fredericks.
The only thing I knew is I wanted to play at the highest level possible, and that was to go to Europe. I lost my place in Bafana. People that have not played in Europe will never understand.
So you sympathize with, some of our players that have come home early.
I won't say I sympathize. I'll say you didn't want it, huh? You didn't want it enough.
You know him as a football pundit now, but he's got a story to tell. And this particular episode of Behind the Boot with Super Journal, we just zoom in on Stiga, the man, the myth, the legend. Stiga, thanks for your time. I've always wanted to tell your story. Maybe let's start there in terms of your football career. Any regrets? You look back. I mean, you've had a lot of time now to think back about your career.
Regrets, that's a big word. And the right thing to say is you never have regrets. That's the right thing to say. But before I start that, just thanks for having me. Took long to get here, but anyway, I'm here now. I think if there's one decision that I would have made differently, it was just before 2006 World Cup. I was still playing for FC Moscow in Russia, right? When I moved to Moscow, I lost my place in Bafana. But I played qualifiers, the beginning of the qualifiers, so it was freshly just losing your place, not being called up. And when I started playing football, all I wanted to do was play in the World Cup. So I missed out on the 2002. I was in the prelim squad. 40 players, wasn't chosen by the last cut. Right? It's fine. You're still young. You got time. 2006, I would have been in my prime. When you're like, I think 26 years old, 25, you're at your prime in terms of fitness.
And you're playing in Europe.
So for me, falling out of favor with Bafana, I then decided to come back to South Africa. So that you in the shop window, so that they see you week in, week out. And I think that decision there, in hindsight, was not the right decision because we didn't even qualify for the 2006 World Cup. So that was so disappointing. And I thought, that I would have done that differently.
So who was the coach at the time? I mean, it's the squad that was picked by Jomosono, right? To go to...
That was in Korea. But 2006 was Stuart Baxter.
Was Stuart Baxter.
Yes, I still played the first two qualifiers. I think we played Cape Verde, or was it Ghana or something like that. And then I made the move and I thought, okay, my entire career with Bafana, I was playing for Kaizer Chiefs and I was regular for about 2 years. But the players there was all based overseas. I was like one or two of the local players in the national team, which was a big thing back then. Yeah. So you just assumed, okay, once I'm in Europe, this is a standard feature.
You think naturally I'm going to make it into the team.
And I never got called up. I actually got called up again, was for the Gold Cup in America. But like for the qualifiers and the World Cup, I just fell out of favor. So that decision there, I would have done it differently.
In a situation like that, Stiga, do you pick up the phone and call the national team coach?
I'm not that guy. I would never be.
Really?
Yeah. But having said that, I must say that Stuart Baxter's that type of coach that you could have called and you could have. And I remember we played away to Ghana. We actually lost for the first time ever. But it was a Ghanaian side with Stephen Apia, with Sulimuntari, it was a proper Ghana team. So away in Kumasi, 2-0 down, you would have understood that, But after that, he actually had a discussion to say, I'm not going to call you up the next game. Deal with your transfer, because I was leaving Chiefs and there was so much places I was going to go to. I was supposed to go to Guimarães in Portugal. I was deciding my future. Okay, where am I going to go far, So he said, deal with that. And then once you've settled, we'll have a discussion. But I never called him. But he was the type of coach that you could actually give a call. And he was the first coach that would actually have that conversation offline and call you and say, how are you doing this? So nothing against him. It was just a situation that I would have decided differently.
Yeah. What did you enjoy the most about playing in Europe? And these deals, how did they come about? Because obviously a lot of your starting out in the South African Premier League and then all of a sudden you're in Europe.
I think when I started playing football, the only thing I knew is I wanted to play at the highest level possible, and that was to go to Europe. And when I started out at Wits University, you're playing with the likes of Lavas Matlala, Junaid Hartley,
such a good team. That
oh my word, Bradley
Carnell.
Bradley Carnell goes to Chiefs, plays for Chiefs for 1 year, and then goes to Stuttgart. So I was like, okay, this is the route I'm going to follow. I've come from the Wits development. I made my first team. I'm going to go to Europe, or I'm going to go to one of the big teams.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of seen my path, because you emulate what you see. So my first opportunity was going to Grasshopper Zurich in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And after Wits, I still feel that if Wits had decided to accept the offer, I would have had such a different career path, because Switzerland is the stepping stone to the bigger leagues. Yeah. Sean Bartlett went from FC Zurich to Charlton. Waru Benjani went from Grasshopper Zurich to England. Was it Man City or somewhere? All the players that I played with, Patrick Bladen, goes to Hamburg, So it's a stepping stone. You either go to Germany, you go to Italy, or you go to England, So I feel that if Wits sealed the deal, I think I would have had such a different career path, and my path to Europe would have been so much earlier, which is the best. The Quentin Fortunes when you're 16, the Steven Pienaar when you're 18, So the earlier you go, the earlier you go, the better, the quicker you adapt, and the quicker you understand the mentality that's needed to play at the highest level.
What was the hold-up? Were you ever really told? Because, I mean, you did kind of eventually end up at Grasshoppers as well, and at that level, but obviously you're saying it was a bit too late, I guess. What, like, you feel 2 years, 3 years too late? That's a lot in football terms.
In football terms, it's a lot. If a European team is looking for a player and they want potential, older than 21, it's a risk. They'll go to 23. But after 23, it's too late.
Yeah.
So I had my stint in Zurich. I came back. 6 months later, I left Wits. But when I went over to Moscow, I was 26 years old. 26 years old to Europe, you must have shot the lights out for a team to sign you. So I think my exploits with Bafana gave the Russian team enough confidence that I could actually make the grade.
Once you're there, settling in, how did you find it? Because I'll make an example with the Ajax Cape Town boys who moved to Amsterdam. I mean, I know for instance, Tulane Serrero gets there and he stays with a foster family of some sort for him to help him adjust. And you look at his career now, he was like what you're talking about. He had that mentality and he just never came home. Benny McCarthy, for instance, Aaron Mokwena, those are sort of the examples of the guys who Steven Pienaar went up early and just never felt the appetite to come home too soon.
Yeah, it's so amazing that people that have not played in Europe will never understand. And if you don't go through an institution, and I say this word again, institution of Ajax Amsterdam's caliber, that is why Ajax, you play there for 1 year, 2 years, and you get sold to Dortmund, Inter Milan, to big teams. So because they understand that you take in somebody as a youngster, and the difficulties to adapt is, number 1 is the weather, number 2 is the mentality, number 3 is the football, number 4, tactically, are you astute enough to play to instruction? Now, I'm speaking of myself and the Bennies and guys that never came through a development. That's a big difference. For you to adapt to all those things, the language, the whatever, it's such a big ask. But Ajax understands. Okay, firstly, the last thing you need to do is worry, okay, where's the supermarket? Do I drive? Do I walk? Where's the shops? How am I going to get washing powder to do my clothes? Who does my clothes? Can I even wash my clothes? Who irons? They alleviate all that. What am I going to cook? What am I going to eat? They alleviate all that.
Don't have to worry about any of that.
Now you get Stiga going to Russia. You have a translator at training. You have somebody that's going to, after training, take you to look for an apartment. While you're in a hotel. In a hotel, it's the same restaurant. It's the same after training in the hotel. You don't have a vehicle yet. Where do you walk? Like, How do you speak? How do you communicate? Okay, now you find an apartment. Okay, now you need to go buy bread. Maybe you come home late. Supermarkets are closed. You need to go to the store around the corner. It's minus 25. You're walking. How do you ask the person on the counter? I'll never forget. That's how I learned the word bread first. Clap, because I had to point. I'm like, wow, I need to learn the language here. You know, like all that adaptation takes you so long to do well on the field. So Ajax, they do it differently. And I'm sure there's a lot of other teams that have understood, okay, if we bring in an African player or a foreign player, there needs to be that phase of adaptation. But it's possibly, and that's the difference between players going to Europe and staying there, is if you have the characteristic of, I want to adapt and learn. I got to make a life outside of this. I got to make friends. I got to build a life outside of my football. Because in South Africa, you have that. You have mates, you have family, you have this, you have that. So now you need to recreate that same scenario. But it doesn't happen overnight. So you need to have that intellect to say, okay, I'm going to make a friend. I'm going to go to a restaurant. I'll bump into my neighbor. I can have a conversation. You know, so that is a big part of that player being able to play to his maximum if you can adapt off the field.
So you sympathize with, some of our players that have come home early because as the media, we don't understand when the guy says, I was homesick, I was struggling. We think, nah, you just didn't try hard enough.
I won't say I sympathize. I'll say you didn't want it. You didn't want it enough. Yeah. Like, and I don't think anybody will know this, but like when Lyle Foster was at Monaco, it was a difficult period for him because adaptation was so much more difficult. And I was good friends with his dad, and his dad said, Stiga, don't you want to give him a call and just chat to him? I said, anytime. Because I understand exactly what he's going through. And his scenario and players that go now, it's so much more difficult because you feel like you're losing out on life. Your friends and social media is in front of your face now. People are on Insta, people are on Twitter, like things is happening and you want to be part of it, but my friend, you have a job here. You at Monaco. You have replaced Mbappe. Because the minute they sold Mbappe, they've already scouted him in a junior national tournament, and he's going to come into the development. So when Mbappe is playing and he leads, you the next Mbappe.
The next guy.
People didn't know that. That's our own Lyle Foster. So I have a conversation with him, and I tell him, listen, there's millions of boys that want to be in yours. Millions. You need to adapt. I said, learn the language. Make friends. Build a life. Because I know that's the quickest way you're going to adapt. You adapt so much that when it's off season, you actually don't want to come home. Because you'd rather let your parents come here. Because when you come home, you want to stay here and you get used to your surroundings. Now it's again another adaptation. That's the first 2 years. And only guys that stay there for longer will understand, hey, listen, I don't want to come home anymore. Not that you don't love your country, but it's like, my life is here.
This is my life
now. In fact,
let
me just go over to Spain and spend 2 weeks there. The boys are going to do.
Makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? So that is why I encouraged him, and the fact that he's still there clearly shows you that maybe something at home, or he realized that this is everything that he ever wanted, and he needs to fight to stay there as long as he could.
Because he could have easily given up. Monaco, then going to Portugal, then going to Belgium, and it's like, now they're just passing me around different clubs. I may as well just go back home, play for one of the big teams in the Premier Soccer League, and live a comfortable life.
So when I watch him in the EPL last season, and scoring and playing and evolving as a player, and
he really seemed like he was company's go-to man. He wasn't a fringe player for sure.
You just smile and understand the journey. People don't know. They're like, oh, okay, faster, okay, in EPL. They don't know the journey. They don't know the struggle. They don't know the depth of sacrifice and mental fight backs he needed to do. So, and for everybody that has played at that level, you just smile and you're like, okay, respect.
So you moved, you've done Switzerland, you've done Greece, you've done Russia.
Yeah.
Where did you sort of feel like you were most at your element? I'm sure every country and club has its own story, but
yes.
Maybe you can touch on those three, sort of give us a brief summary of what it was like to just be moving across the European continent like that.
Yeah. So my first taste in Europe was in FC Zurich. I played with world-class players. Wow. So that just put me in the context of saying, listen, this is the level that's needed. This is the level of concentration. This is the quality you're going to be surrounded by. The likes of Hakan Yakin, the striker.
Yes.
His brother Murat Yakin was the Swiss coach. Was my teammate. I played with Efeni Koko because Roy Hodgkins was the coach that initially brought me to Grasshoppers.
Wow.
Right? And he brought over Efeni Koko that played for Wimbledon. Petric Bladen that went on to play for Dortmund. My captain, Tony Esposito, but one of the best Swiss players to ever play for Switzerland, Stefan Schapiza. Played for Dortmund. He was the Deutsche Meister, I think 3 years in a row. So that was playing with quality of the highest. That was my experience in Switzerland. In Russia, it built character. It forced me to play a different way, more direct. The individual brilliance wasn't really that much needed, only in tight situations. Other than that, I needed to adapt and play in a system. A system that if a ball comes here, it goes there. If it comes back here, it goes there, it goes there. You have to adapt. I have to evolve as a player. But I think where it all came full circle for me was my experience for playing for Chiefs, national team, junior national teams, a bit of Switzerland. In Greece, it all came together.
Yeah.
And I played as a number 10. Well, I think I was more winger most of my career. Yeah. But playing in that number 10 role in Greece, I think is where I scored more goals. I knew how to take the team on my shoulder because back then, when you play as a number 10, there's no number 10 in today's game. But when you play as a number 10, everybody looks to you to say, okay, well, the coach says, hey, Fredericks, pegze Ligo Malaka, pegze, play. Like, they look to you when you're not playing. You're like, okay, I need to drop deep. I need to. Now that experience comes in, so when you need to pass and move and hold on to the ball a bit longer and do a diagonal and sprint and bring your players in and talk, So I think that's where.
Is that why you had to pull your shorts?
Also,
you used to do that thing with your shorts.
Hey, that was a Dr. Kumalo inspired, baby oil, what. Yeah, so I think that's where I came full circle was in Greece. Yeah.
Yeah. So also what I want to touch on is you mentioned playing for junior national teams. There was one moment of that squad that had your Matthew Booths, your Benny McCarthy, you go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
You look back at that, you think what do you think of that? That a lot of you guys should have made the easy transition. Was it down to the individual themselves, or you think somehow maybe the synergy within the federation and the junior national team and Bafana failed you guys somehow to sort of transition together? Because doing what you did there and only a handful of you guys making it to senior national team is a bit sad.
That question, I'll sit here all day and talk about it. I think the system failed us as much as it gave us the platform. So as much as Benny and myself and all the guys, we would always curse at SAFA. We would always do that. Yeah, the bonuses, the this, the that, the that. But SAFA gave us a platform so that we can go to Europe. Benny McCarthy was picked up in under 20 AFCON to go to Amsterdam. We were there in Morocco for 7-8 weeks, So if we never played for the junior national team, we wouldn't have been exposed. If we didn't play in the 20 World Cup, we wouldn't have dreamed that high because we're coming up against Nicolas Anelka, Thierry Henry, David Trezeguet, and we're going pound for pound with these players.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So as much as the system failed us, it gave us the opportunity to change our lives. So it's bittersweet. Yes, we know that SAFA has just been on a downward spiral. And that was the beginning of it. Like, how do you have a team that qualifies for the Olympics in a group with Cameroon that went on to win the World Cup? I mean, the Olympics. With Ghana that had the best of the best. You qualified. You beat Brazil in the Olympics. We should have gone further.
You should have,
Should have easily gone further.
That squad was just.
But now you take that squad and you slowly transition that squad into the next Bafana team, because there were some youngsters in the 96 winning cup, like the Bartletts, and there's a few youngers, the Prime Balois, like, make that brave decision.
Just like
okay,
France
guys,
did with
boom.
Henrys and Anelka and
Exactly.
Trezeguet. Yeah.
So now, in 98, who's playing for France? Henry. We played against him at the Under-20 World Cup.
Yeah. I'm sorry to say this, but our team had Madalas there.
Exactly.
I don't know if it was a legacy thing to say they...
It was a legacy. Yeah. We needed our Dr. Kumalos. We needed, and by doctor's doctor. Yeah. Like, he's the boss.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Legends of the game.
In football, there's no time for sentiments.
Yeah,
there's no time for sentiments, So, I think the system failed us, and that is why we never filtered into the national team, and we went in drips and drabs. Quinton, Benny, Garon, myself, Matthew, slowly, but it was never a transition that was needed.
Did you have the belief in you when you guys looked around the room when Brashakes, I think it was Brashakes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Brashakes put that squad together and took you over, that, gents, we can do something spectacular here?
You know what? The secret was we were together for like 4 or 5 years. So, and the beauty of the sponsor.
Even younger then, yeah.
Yeah, the beauty of the sponsor, Sasol. Sasol enabled us. And Sasol didn't ask SAFA to give them money. They enabled us, and they gave us the correct competition. They paid for every trip. So the financial backing was there and exposure was there, because when you go into a big tournament like that, you need to come up like a World Cup, right? Or Olympics. You need to come up against South American opposition. We had friendlies against South American opposition, European opposition. We played in the Toulon tournament where you come up against England, Argentina, France, So we had African opponents. We went on a camp to Germany for like 2 months. Go to France, like we prepared properly for that moment, and unfortunately now junior national teams, they don't even get friendlies, and you expect them to qualify. You know what I'm saying? So, we were very fortunate that we had that experience and that time together. So when we come up against Ronaldinho and they're hitting their sambas, and we're like, we're not intimidated, because, my friend, we've done it before. We played against you in the 20 World Cup. Yeah. Let's see how far we've improved now, 3 years later at the Olympics.
And that's the thing. I suppose that group, and when I listen to a Benny and, the guys that you're with, your Matthews, talk about the talent in South Africa, you guys continue to insist that there's massive talent and potential here, because you are the proof in the pudding that European clubs and scouts shouldn't be sleeping on SA talent. Do would you share the same view as well?
Yeah, 110%, because in fact the player that's coming to the fore now is going to be better than we were. Like I say, they developed. They get proper coaching from a younger age. Mm. We're more exposed to English football. We're watching Champions League. You're understanding how footballers behave tactically. You're understanding the demand, because you can see it first and foremost. Mm. And then you also get in information earlier on, So when you get to that level, you will be better prepared. You don't have to only rely on your ability, which I had to do at Zurich, where my fitness trainer comes to me and says, hey, my friend, do you know when we don't have the ball, come inside? Do you know when we get possession, go out? I don't want you to come to the defender to collect the ball. Stay high. Receive it high. So that when you get the ball, there's only one player to go past, which is your strength. Now you get it here. Now you must go past 1, 2, 3. Like that, when you're learning that at the age of 21, it's too late, my friend. So these boys will be ready for that, when they get the opportunity. And hopefully they will want that opportunity, because as much as the PSL is one of the best leagues in Africa, my friend, the highest level is in Europe.
100%.
You need to go there as quick as you can, as soon as you can, So, and they'll be better prepared when they get the opportunities.
You leave Europe briefly, you come back home, you join Kaizer Chiefs. How would you sum up that stint? Also, it was the time of Fat Ales, and I suppose that squad under Coach Mohsin, unfortunate really to have not won a championship.
Very, very unfortunate. But I think that's where the adoration that the fans have for me, that 3 years at Kaizer Chiefs, is massive. The fact that I'm a pundit today is because I played for Kaizer Chiefs and I won trophies.
You guys won a lot
we
of trophies.
won trophies. So I must say that I was so hungry to go back to Europe. That was it. I was like, okay, I'm here at Chiefs now, but I want to go back. And Chiefs will allow
Listen,
me.
you were Stiga, you were top.
Yeah.
You were top. Yeah, I always think of how, also you played more on the wide side, and I always thought, but he's not that quick.
Yeah.
But when you get the ball and get past players and get in the crosses for your strikers to finish, you were top level. So I can understand the appetite to want to go back to Europe.
Yeah, no, and it came very quick. I played for Chiefs for 1 year, and the second year, that's when I won the Player of the Year and all those things with Chiefs. West Ham came.
I didn't know this.
Yes. And I played for Bafana.
Yeah.
And Bafana played against England. Remember when Beckham had his...
Yeah.
So that game changed it for me.
The squad where Safa told the coach who to pick.
Safa, yeah. Yes, so anyway, so Coach Jomo and Coach Palacios were the coaches for that game. There were a lot of European players, European-based players that were supposed to come. I was once again a few of the local based players in the squad.
Yeah.
They were training. We were waiting for Zuma to come, Pinar to come,
all
of them to come, because if they came, I was going to do my bench.
Yeah.
But I was just so happy to be playing against England, because everything that I know about football, I'm a big Liverpool supporter.
Yeah.
And I've get the opportunity to come up. I was just happy to be in the squad, mate. I was just happy to be in the squad. But then reality hits home. Reality says, okay, you are a professional footballer. Let's see the level that you are at. This thing of playing in Europe, is it just a dream, or can you? Because tonight is the test against England, against Rooney, Michael Owen, Gerrard, Lampard, Ferdinand. That was England's golden generation, you know?
Yeah.
So if you can't do it here and you average, understand where your level will be. Never forget, man of the match, that game. And that's when OJ went to Spurs. I was supposed to go to West Ham, you know? So that happened very quickly. And another disappointment. Because when you get a chance to go to West Ham, my friend, to England, it happens once, it doesn't come again.
It's a no-brainer.
No, it doesn't come again.
Yeah.
Listen to me, it does not come again. Glenn Roeder personally called me, the coach at the time. He's late today. In hindsight, I understand now what Kaiser said and what he done. Because they followed me for a year. Chiefs went to play the Peace Cup in Korea. They followed me. They watched me. And they said, okay, we want him. But he needs to come over and have a kickabout.
Are you aware at the time that scouts are traveling around?
No, you're not aware that you're being watched.
Yeah.
You're not aware of being watched. So anyway, so I was distraught. My manager, Manasseh, comes over, the agent from Stella in the UK. There's Stella Africa. Stella in the UK comes over. We have a meeting in Stanton. I'll never forget this house. I'm like, yo, if I sign here, I'm buying this house in Stanton. Honestly, I was like, I was counting the pounds already, bruh. Yo, he's like, okay, this is what the deal's in. I'm like, I'm actually in a daze, because I'm like, this is what I dreamt of.
Yeah.
This is actually happened. The agent came here. Anyway, Chiefs doesn't want to release me. I'm like, aye.
Because you're still tied for 1 more year. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I signed 3 years. So I go there. I say, aye. I say, Brake, no.
Do you know the offer that they put in, the transfer fee?
I don't.
You didn't know, yeah.
And then now we have Blitz, but then it was like, Hammer's interested in Fredericks, Sky Sports. I'm like, yeah, Chief, this is for real. Yo, I'm phoning Benny. Yeah, Chief, I'm coming.
I'm coming there by you.
So anyway, I go, I have a meeting. I'm like, no, they want you to come over. This is, so Chief says no. Serlin Zama went to West Ham last year.
Yeah.
They said the same thing. They came back. They never signed him. He lost confidence.
Oh, this is Brake saying this.
Yes, this is Brake, and I understand that. And he's like, listen, they are undermining the African player. They've watched you. They told us they came to watch. They asked us our schedule in Korea. They watched you. They seen you play for Bafana. They
so
must
why
make
not sign
they
you
must
outright?
make an offer and you must go. I say, Brake, I promise you, if I go there, I'm not coming back. I'm gonna kill them. Now this is the West Ham side with Joe Cole, Ferdinand, the Canio, Boss.
Top players.
High quality. And what I've learned at Chiefs, if you come and you play with good players, you become better.
Yeah.
So now if I go in there, I know I'm going to just become better.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, Brake, I need to.
Yeah.
Please. No. I went home. I never even went to training for 2 days. That's not me. I'm not that guy. I was distraught because I knew if this doesn't happen, it's never going to happen. Coach phones me, listen, if you buy a new Merc, don't you want to sit in it, take it for a test drive, choose the color? I said, of course, coach. So why don't you come over? I'm like, coach, I want to come over.
It's not up to me.
Yeah. So anyway, so that happened quick because I knew you go to Chiefs, I'm going to go back to Europe.
Yeah.
And the second year, it almost happened.
Sure. So that's the one thing that you'd change about your career probably.
I couldn't change it. It was out of my hands. And then a year later, my third year at Chiefs ends. Forever grateful for what Chiefs done. Forever. I just said, listen, I need to go to Europe.
Yeah.
No, Bobby's like, I still come. I want to renew. I said, I'm going to give you. I said, it's never about money for me. It was never about money. I want to go to Europe. And then England doesn't come anymore because that phase is gone. Baxter tried to get me at Forest. You're going to be 25, 26, 25. Now you also need to know, I need to make money now. Okay?
Yeah.
So together with that decision, Portugal, this one, that one, I was like, okay, no, this one, I'm going to go to Russia.
Sure.
That's how the decision came about.
Yeah, look, Stiga, we would have loved to go for the full hour, 3 hours, whatever, telling your story. But I think you've given us just enough, just a taste of what you're all about. I hope you've enjoyed this episode with Stanton, Stiga, Fredericks, just as much as I have. We'll catch you on the next one.